In criminal investigator boss controller John Luther, a maverick copper exploring London's grisliest manslaughters, Elba has laid out a getting-through legend, whose trademark conceals of dark, from his long fleece jacket to his ethical compass, feel without a moment's delay traditional and customized to fit. Squinting and shambling through horrendous crime locations with his hands in his pockets, Luther was styled after both Columbo and Sherlock Holmes. However, it's Elba's irregular screen presence, almost gravitas and celebrity that finishes up the person with something uniquely great. Splendid and upset, crude but effective, on the edge of dimness, Luther is an awesome hero, the sort of seriously agonizing criminal investigator who will skirt any standard on the off chance that it gets him an executioner, whose inflexible feeling of equity puts him in conflicts with partners. Not a solitary one of them can profess to keep his cool head while hanging a thought observer over a gallery to separate key data. Elba epitomizes Luther's mental torture. He violates the law to maintain it. In deep design, he's the sort of unendingly convincing screen presence who can tunnel into a prime example and enlighten inward flows of energy, fury, and torment without pursuing the conspicuous decision, without appearing to bring down the person's consistently present defenses. Each of the 5 series of Luther to date address the entertainer at his best, and one of the central joys of The Fallen Sun is the solace and stunning mystique with which he shrugs that mark coat over his unimaginably wide shoulders and heads back to work. Last seen bound by his previous police administrator, Martrin Skink, Dermot Crowley, subsequent to crossing one unprecedented line such a large number of in the show's 5th series finale, Luther ends up in jail toward the beginning of The Fallen Sun. However, the conditions of his imprisonment have been modified. In the film's telling, the great analyst's examination concerning the vanishing of a youthful janitor has driven his most recent enemy, a teeth-grinding devil of a tech tycoon played by Andy Serkis, to release a dossier to the media that implicates Luther in a reiteration of rule-blowing offenses, from breaking and entering to think terrorizing, messing with proof, and payoff. Luther's blameworthy on all charges. Normally, however, he has an entirely sensible clarification, if by some stroke of good luck the courts would listen to him. However, stuck in jail, Luther is as yet top of brain for Serkis' previously mentioned demon, David Roby, who threatens London through a progression of intricate killings, like that of 8 outsiders, stole, hanged, and organized in a state that emits into fire as the casualties folks show up, yet makes time to insult Luther over his inability to forestall the butchery. Accordingly, Luther breaks out during a jail transport, after a lamp fuel-splashed cell block revolt grouping makes his exchange to another office unavoidable. Seeing Luther protecting himself with a blazing bedding as he fights down a hallway of murderous prisoners denotes The Fallen Sun right off the bat as an acceleration of the series' inclination for mash showy behaviors. Back on the downpour-slick roads of London, Luther chases after hints regarding Roby's next barbarity show, even as he's pursued by his previous partners on the police force, including substitution DCI Odette Rain, Cynthia Erivo, and Skegg, counseling for the division as the expert on everything Luther. This arrangement is the same old thing for Luther, which had Elba's legend on the lam from police toward its most memorable series end. However, there's a feeling of exhaustion to this most recent runabout that feels combined. The Fallen Sun is intentionally outlined as a true-to-life renewed introduction for the person, understanding the investigator's corrupt history with enticing mental case and potential perfect partner Alice Morgan, Ruth Wilson, as well as the different supporting players who've taken care of aligning themselves with Luther, will be of worth to watchers inquisitive regarding the quality of tormented despairing that hangs weighty around the person. He's pursued choices previously, awful ones, and he lives alone with their results. Luther's comfortable in the film's bleak, gothic form of London, where each obscured rear entryway and unguarded rural milieu is followed by individuals from a rebels exhibition sufficiently bent to make Batman flicker. There are detestable soothsayers who capture youthful moms to deplete their blood, concealed fetishists who stand by under casualties' beds just to quietly wind out into view once the lights are out, even jokester-covered executioners who assault ladies advancing home alone around evening time. The foes Luther faces are super crooks, specialists of dread, transforming his city into a Gotham-esque endless suburbia of dread and wickedness even as they legitimize his own vigilantism. Most popular for movement-caught exhibitions that surface the human kind of complex creatures, Circus is no less convincing as a cruel poser, an all-knowing one-percenter whose arrive voluntarily never surpass his grip. Heading an extorting activity that has protected him with a multitude of partners in crime, all casualties frightened their own most obscure mysteries will get out. Roby is a preposterous neurotic even before it's uncovered he keeps a Norwegian den befitting a Bond reprobate, one to unobtrusive touch that, with regards to the film's great financial plan, lifts Luther out of his generally elevated MASH environmental factors and into a more winkingly senseless activity sandbox. As a series, Luther frequently managed in limits, setting Elba's steady vigilante in opposition to every kind of corrupted maniacs as though to test his external cutoff points. Confronted with a childishly horrible arch-villain like this, Luther's possible admission to a censorious previous partner that he overstepped the law since he was unable to see some other method for doing what must be finished enlists more as a legend's mantra than an admission of past violations. Returning Chief Jamie Payne, who helmed Series 5, broadens the obvious and enhanced air of his past Luther portions even as the activity set pieces, one transforming Piccadilly Square into a disaster area, one more going out of revulsions, increase, with veteran cinematographer Larry Smith washing the film's serious tableaus of homegrown red in a chilly, suffusing dusk. As in past portions of the series, Luther's red tie, a marked embellishment, is at times the most brilliant sprinkle of variety on the screen. Neil Cross, the series maker and sole essayist, scripts Luther with a reasonableness so threatening and shocking that it moves toward the dirty camp of ongoing DC superhuman movies, an impression that Lorne Balfe's tight, beating score just improves. For all its scowling air and hard-bubbled exchange, however, generally integral to the film's joys are the unerring impulses of its entertainers, some getting back to jobs they've been playing for 10 years. At the point when Elba imparts the screen to Dermot Crowley, as previous administrator Martin Skegg, the two entertainers bat self-serious cheeseball discourse around with the consistent mood and pleasantness of prepared scene accomplices. They're experts working, with a terrible occupation in front of them. Erivo, as well, fits easily into the situation as a criminal investigator at first entrusted with finding Luther, providing the self-evident truth gravitas expected to face the legend, regardless of whether the imperative third act contort that accomplishes them up is excessively implausible, even by the film's realistic novel rationale. That the fallen son eventually feels more rambling than climactic is by plan. Elba has made no confidential of his longing to play Luther on the big screen in a progression of movies, of which this is just the first. Before long accessible on Netflix close by the remainder of the television series, The Fallen Son is a characteristic continuation for fans yet additionally presents a way in for series novices, in any event, sending the person off toward another path that energetically recognizes Elba's bon bona fides while stating, not unconvincingly, that Luther's reality is sufficient.